Do we have any cool cats in the room? Come on. You guys cool cats? Curious, ambitious, tenacious? Come on. Meow. Well, this next speaker reminds me a lot of myself when I was younger. I'm going to get emotional thinking about it because it really does remind me of myself. Thomas is an absolute underdog. I'm a serial underdog as well. You might not think so, but I have lived my entire life as an underdog, and so has Thomas. And Thomas, I've watched because I've seen him right from the get-go, and he's just crushing it. He's sold north of 500 homes already, has been at it only about 6 years, just crushing it, building a great team. Him and his team have assembled about 1,000 properties to sell in the future through development, so he's just crushing it and looking into the future. And he plays center ice. He likes going low blocker side, kind of like I did as a hockey player. But I think he's a better hockey player than I was. But anyways, I am so excited to hear what Thomas has to say. Thomas, come on up. Let's give it a round for Thomas.
Thanks, Randy. I will say this before I get going. Randy, John, Phil, I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have the support of those guys. And those guys didn't have to help me throughout the last 6 years, but you ask them a question and they're super busy. They're selling thousands of homes a year. They get back to you right away. You need help on something that you're going through. Those guys have been there for me for the past 6 years, so I can't thank them enough. And thanks for putting on this event. So my story, I've been asked to speak about my underdog story, and it's really about embracing challenges, coming from no experience at all in real estate sales to, building a very successful team. And I'm just gonna figure out this clicker. So what it takes to sell 500 homes in 6 years. Now, there's agents that have sold a lot more than that in 5 years. There's agents that have sold a couple hundred homes the first year. But what I've done is, my story is a little bit different than a lot of people. I started at a Fortune 500 company selling steel. I was a financial analyst for my first 6 years. The last year and a half, I was living Monday to Friday in a hotel in Vancouver, back at the Sheraton before the Sheraton became what it is now. Traveling Monday over to Vancouver, Friday home, living in a hotel, and just crunching numbers. They sent me back to the island my last year and a half and said, you're gonna go into sales. I have no sales experience at all, but we lost about 20% market share. We fired all the sales managers, and I need you to get that market share back. I had absolutely no clue what to do. All I knew is I had a long list of clients, knew all the owners' names, all the businesses that we lost, and I just started driving up and down the island. Now, most of you guys are probably from Vancouver. The island's actually pretty big. It's about 7 hours to go from Victoria all the way up to the tip. It's a pretty long drive. And once you hit Canberra River, it's pretty boring from there. Like, you might not see a town for 2 hours. So I drove 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers a week, getting that market share back. And after about a year, I took more than 20% back in market share. But what I realized is I was just an employee. It didn't matter how much business I brought, how well I did. If I worked 40 hours a week, 70 hours a week, my income was capped. And I was making good money at the time. I finally took advice from some of my mentors. Now, Phil, since I was 28 when I met Phil, he was trying to get me into real estate for 10 years prior to that. Probably should have said yes. But I finally decided to, take advice from my mentors and get into real estate. And that's what I did. So I started in 2018 as an agent at Sotheby's Realty. Started there for the first few months. I was actually doing all the EXP training. So all my training I did for the first few months at Sotheby's was EXP online. I got a guest pass. They weren't in Victoria yet. When they came into Victoria is when I jumped over to EXP. And now my first few months, I sold one home. I struggled. And it wasn't because I didn't have the training, didn't have the expertise, but I was just one foot in the door. When EXP came and I signed up for EXP, I decided, you know what? I'm going to give this real estate a good shot. I'm going to go 2 feet in. I'm going to go all out for 6 months. I gave myself 6 months to either figure it out or go back to my last job. And that's what I did. For 6 months, I consumed as much knowledge as possible. When I was at the gym working out, I was listening to podcasts of Tom Ferry, John Chaplack, listening to as much real estate as I could. I was doing as much training as you can find, conferences, talking to people like Randy, Phil, and John, consuming as much knowledge, door knocking on as many doors as I could knock, talking to as many people as I could. I had to give 6 months a chance at this, 2 feet in the door, to figure it out. That's when I decided to go all in. Now, fast forward a year later, I sold 50 homes under contract and pending. I met my wife, and I will say this, when you meet the right partner, you can conquer the world. And without my wife, Courtney, right there, the support that she's given me, I wouldn't be here where I was today. So, everyone make it really awkward for her. She's right over there. So after my first year, I put 50 homes under contract. And what I realized is my wife and myself were at a generational inflection point. Raise your hand if you heard that before. Has anyone heard that word before? So what it means, basically, we were raised middle class, just below middle class. Our parents grinded away. My parents were immigrants from Europe. Just worked hard enough to put food on the table, make sure we always had clothes on. Did a great job at that. But we had a chance to change the direction of our family. We had a chance to change the generational direction and the family legacy of our kids. And that's what we did. And that's what we can do with real estate. That's the nice thing about real estate is there's so much opportunity here for you if you actually go all in that you can change the generational point of your family. So fast forward 2024, we sold over 500 homes. We currently have 8 agents on our team, just added 1, so 9 tomorrow. 4 staff, and we're on pace for about 225 homes 2 months into the year. So we'll probably hit around 225, 250 this year. Just been in the business just over 6 years. In 6 years, I have won, I have lost, and I've struggled. Building a team, being a solo agent, raising a family, it's a lot of work. Real estate can be demanding. It can be 7 days a week. My first couple of years, it was 7 days a week, 14-hour days. Pretty hard to raise a family and kids when you're working 7 days a week, 14-hour days. So there's a lot of struggle that comes with being successful. But what I realized is, and here's are the biggest mistakes over coaching 50 agents, building a team of 8 agents, selling over 500 homes. It's a few key things that most people struggle with. The first one is most team leaders scale too slow, and most agents scale too slow. I was a solo agent selling 70 homes a year before I hired my first assistant. I should have hired my assistant at 15 homes. I waited till it was 70 homes a year by myself before I hired my first assistant. That's insane, the amount of paperwork you have nowadays. So most team leaders scale too slow. The second thing I realized is most team leaders should have hired an agent 7, 8, 9 months before, and they finally decided to hire an agent. Well, I decided to finally hire an agent. We were selling over 100 homes a year, me and my wife. We had a kid and another one coming. We decided, hey, we want some more free time. We want Sundays off. We want to hire another agent. So we hired one agent. Now, that was the biggest mistake I made. I hired one agent. I invested in that agent. I trained that agent. That agent either left, I fired them, or they got out of the business. Then I did it again. Hired an agent, trained them. They either left, I fired them, or they got out of the business. It's a lot of time, money, and energy invested in that one person. What I realized is, there's got to be a better way of doing this. And I chatted with a few mentors across Canada. That's the nice thing about EXP is you can pick up the phone, call the top team in Ontario, and he'll give his whole playbook to you. I hired 3 agents. And before I trained those 3 agents, they had to do my training program. If they're not willing to go through my training program, put skin in the game, I'm not willing to put time, money, and energy into them. Now I figured once they've done that, I can train them, I can invest in them. If 1 leaves, I still have 2. If 2 leaves, I still have 1. And God, if all 3 leave, I must be doing something wrong. But just a more effective use of our time. It's one thing we can't get back. The second thing I noticed is most agents, whether you be on a team, looking to build a team, or just starting out of the gate, they have no why, they have no purpose. My kids and my wife motivate me. We live on experiences. It's really hard to stay motivated every single day in this industry, day in and day out, talk to people, have consistent communication, constantly host open houses when you don't have a why and you don't have a purpose. Our family lives on experiences. They travel. I have a 19-month-old girl and a 3-year-old son. My 3-year-old's been on over 50 airplanes. He counts down the days to our next trip. We woke up this morning at the hotel downtown, and he said, Dad, 4 more sleeps and we're going to Cabo. Next EXP conference. He reminded me, I'm like, oh, that's right. Yeah, 4 more days, and we're going to Cabo. He loves that stuff. And they, seeing the look on my kids' faces when we're on vacation, enjoying themselves, that motivates me. It's really hard for me to go home at the end of the day after I didn't make my phone calls, if I didn't talk to people, I didn't host an open house, I didn't go on appointments and say, sorry, buddy, we can't go on our next vacation. Daddy can't afford it because I didn't make my phone calls. It's pretty hard for me to look at my kids in the eye and say that. That's what motivates me every single day to stay consistent. The next thing I notice is most agents don't have goals, and if they do have goals, they don't have a plan. They just say, hey, I want to sell 30 homes, or I want to sell 20 homes, but they have no idea how to get there. Raise your hand here if you guys set a goal this year. Okay. Raise your hand if you're on track or ahead of your goal so far this year. We're 2 months, 3 months in. Raise your hand if you're not on track for your goal. Okay. And then raise your hand if you have absolutely no clue if you're on track or way behind. Yeah, a few of us. So goals need to have a plan. They need to have two things, a plan, and they need to have a thing called lead indicators and lag indicators. So lead indicator is one big thing that we implemented in our business about 3 years ago. EXP has the lead indicator. If anyone's heard Glenn speak before, one of his lead indicators is the NPS score. That's how they track, is our agents happy at our company or not? They get it every single day, every single week. So your lead indicator is something that on a daily basis, you're either winning or losing. It's the needle moving activity that's gonna set you up for success that day. So it could be as something as simple as 10 conversations. It's black or white, yes or no. You either had 10 conversations or you didn't. 9 is you failed. 10 is you hit it, or 11. So what are your needle moving activities that you need to do today to win the day? And it could be 1, 2, 3 things. I personally track 3 for myself. Our team has their own lead indicators. You win enough days, you win the week. You win the week, you win the month. You win the months, you're gonna crush your goals that year. But at any given time, you can see, hey, I'm having a tough week right now. Did you hit your lead indicators every single day that week? The next thing is, in 5 seconds or less, you need to know if you're winning or losing. It doesn't matter if you're a solo agent or if you're running a big team. Every business that's successful has a scoreboard. Doesn't matter if you're in March, if you're in June, or if you're in February. 5 seconds or less, you need to know if you're winning or losing. That's our team scoreboard first 2 months of the year. We're winning so far. We're crushing our buyer's appointment set. We're crushing our buyer appointment met. And we've signed a ton of buyers so far on buyer agency agreements. Pretty close to our listing appointment set, but we're crushing on listing appointments met and listing appointment signed. So me as a team leader, I can tell if our team is winning or losing. Instantly. I can see if we're on pace or if we're way behind and where we need to improve. The next is our agents can see that. So our agents can see if they're winning or losing. I can see if that agent is winning or losing. This agent here on our team is doing great on the buy side, as you can see. He's setting a ton of listing appointments. He's meeting with a ton of sellers, but he's struggling with getting listings signed. So I know, and that agent knows where he needs help. In 5 seconds or less, at any given point throughout this year, we can both see if he's winning or losing. So make sure you guys get a scoreboard. The next is inconsistent marketing and prospecting. Too many agents dabble in everything. They chase the shiny object. And when they get really busy, they stop marketing. Focus on just a few lead sources. Don't chase 20 or 30. 2024 and 2023 was a very tough year for everyone. Raise your hand if you guys felt the pain the last couple of years. Apparently, it was a tough year, but not us. We actually increased our GCI in 2023 to 2024 by 33%, and 2023 was apparently a tough year. We increased it by 17%. And how did we do this? We doubled down on our top 3 lead sources. We went deeper and not wider. We didn't chase 20 different lead sources. We focused on what's actually working, and let's double down on that. So the first one was past clients and sphere. That was the gold. My first 3 years in real estate, I didn't care about past clients or sphere. I wasted so much time, energy chasing, door knocking, cold calling, all the hard stuff. But when you get really busy, that's the stuff that you struggle with. Your past clients and sphere is a pretty easy lead source if you focus on it. It's over 50% of our business now. And I look at the agents on our team, it makes up a good chunk of their business as well. We strengthen our relationships with builders and developers. It was tough the last couple of years to find development sites and infill development for a lot of builders. Interest rates were high. Sellers were still expecting COVID prices, but we found them the projects that they needed to keep their lights on for their employees. We built really strong relationships with our builders. And then earmuffs for the managing brokers, but guys, please check your board if you're allowed to do this. Every board is different. We doubled down on our expired and canceled program. And this is one of our strongest lead sources for listings. We took 12 listings in January just from this lead source alone. We doubled down on our expired and canceled program. And how did we do this? We made it a lead indicator for our marketing team on a daily basis to market to this lead source. A lot of this, we're in Canada, unfortunately, we don't have phone numbers, but a lot of this can be done through mail. And that's what we focused on. Another thing I noticed is most agents lack sales skills. The agents that sell the most amount of homes in this year in this room have the best sales skills, period. And the agents that are consistently working on their sales skills will continue to sell the most amount of homes. So sharpen your skill axe. Focus on your skills as an agent, your listing presentation skills, your buyer presentation skills. Focus on the stuff that's going to make you better as an agent. Can you handle objections? We really get the same objections over and over and over again. Commission objections. I want to list with another agent. That agent will say they'll do it for this. Online lead objections. I'm just looking. I'm just curious. It's human nature to say no. When you walk into, I walk into a shoe store at Foot Locker, guy comes up to me and says, hey, are you interested in buying shoes? No, I'm not interested. Well, it's just an immediate reaction for me to say no, but I'm going into Foot Locker. I'm clearly going to buy shoes. I'm not going into Foot Locker to buy bananas, right? So learn how to handle the same objections. There's a thing called Plaude, P-L-A-U-D-E. It's something you can buy, record. As you're having conversations with people, it can transcribe it all, and then you can actually review your game film. Review, what did I say? What can I say differently in that conversation with that person to ensure that I get that listing, get that buyer. And then the next one is, can you close? So anybody can set an appointment. Anybody can go on an appointment. But if you fumbled a close, you just wasted all that time and energy because you couldn't close. So if there's one thing you can focus on, is focus on your closing skills. I have a mentor in my room. I don't know where Phil is, but Phil, one of the first things he said to me on a listing presentation is, do not leave that table unless you've asked for the close 5 times. And it just stuck in my head. And a lot of times, once you handle the first 2 or 3 objections, that's it. They'll sign with you. Our clients don't need to be sold, they need to be led. Ask the right questions, provide enough value, and when you provide enough value, closing is really easy. The next is take action. So all this is great. There's a lot of great speakers up here. They've given a ton of golden nuggets. I've taken a whole page full at least on just the first few speakers alone. But if you don't take action and implement anything, then you just really showed up and went through the motions today. So what are you going to do in 2025 to grow your business? Scale fast. Don't be afraid to hire. Don't make the mistake I did. If you're selling 15 or 20 homes, you should be having an assistant, even if it's part-time. That will let you get from 15 to 20 homes to 30 to 40 homes. Leverage with people and technology. Find your why, your purpose. What is going to motivate you every single day? What's going to drive you to consistently talk to people, to grow your business? So when you go home at night, you can look at your kids, your family, and say, yes, I actually went to work today. I went on appointments. I've talked to people. Set your goals with a plan and include lead measures and lag measures. What are your daily activities that you need to do consistently to win the day? And track them. And then get a scoreboard. EXP has access to CISU. If you guys haven't used CISU yet as a solo agent or a team, get on it. It's free at EXP. This will give you a scoreboard. This will track your numbers. Will tell you if you're winning or losing. And then go all in on your top 3 lead sources. If open houses are working for you, double up your open houses. If door knocking's working for you, double up on that. If online leads are really good at online leads, double up on that as well. Sorry. And the next is sharpen your skill axe. Take the time in your calendar, carve out 30 minutes to work on your skills. Work on your buyer presentations, your listing presentations. Don't wait till you book that appointment and practice on your clients. Practice in front of your peers, your spouse, or in a mirror, but sharpen your skill axe. And then lastly, take action. Everything that these guys have set up here are great, but you have to take action. And don't take action on everything. Pick 1 or 2 or even 3 things that somebody said that will benefit your business or yourself personally, and just take action. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month. As soon as you leave here, implement it right away. That's all I got, guys. Now, I believe in giving back. I've had a lot of mentors here give a lot to me. I just got a bunch of free resources there for you guys. I hope that whether it be a buyer checklist, a seller checklist, an admin checklist, a script, anything like that, it's going to help your business grow because I believe in collaboration. I'm grateful for the mentors that sit here in front of me that invited me to this event to speak, and I hope you guys crush it this year.